All right, welcome back to the Goals.com podcast, where we uncover what drives sales performance at the highest levels. Today, we're joined by Joe Muskus, owner and president of Rising Tide Sales Consulting. Joe is known for stepping directly into SMB sales organizations, diagnosing the root problems, and installing the systems, tools, and leadership structure that drives predictable, scalable growth. His clients routinely see double-digit revenue increases, stronger accountability, and sales teams that finally operate with clarity and confidence. Today, we're digging into what really causes sales to stall and what it takes to build a sales engine that consistently performs no matter the industry. Joe, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You've worked with a lot of SMBs stuck in stagnant or unpredictable sales. What's one transformation story that still gives you goosebumps, where a business literally flipped its sales trajectory?
Good question. It's pretty common to see companies that are too reliant on existing customers. And they're not bringing in new customers in the door, especially for SMBs. The owner is a lot of times the top salesperson, or at least got them to where they are through those relationships. But more to your point of your question, I'd have to say the biggest kick I got out of a transformation was really in seeing the change in demeanor and attitude from the sales force, right? When I first came in, it was like the doom and gloom, sales meetings where everybody dreaded it because they weren't converting a lot of sales and they weren't bringing a lot of sales in the door. And, to then leave at the end and everybody's excited because they're coming in there with deals, and they're coming in there to brag about their deals, and just has a whole different energy to it. To see that transformation in people, I guess, is the biggest reward for me. But really what the issue of it was the owner had a real good idea of who their ideal customer was and who to target, but didn't have any onboarding plan or really didn't have anything documented down from a value prop or anything. So everybody was going after customers, but they were going after the wrong people. So they weren't converting. They were going after people that really had no intent to ever buy. So by nailing that in and dialing that in, their close rate obviously goes way up because they're targeting the right people.
I love that. After stepping into dozens of sales organizations, what's the hidden pattern you see over and over again that kills growth, but most leaders completely overlook it?
Well, I'd say when sales are down, they typically, what's the first thing they do? Well, we got to get more customers, right? We got to get more customers. So a lot of times they'll try to be everything to everybody instead of going after more of their ideal client, or going after a different ideal client for a different new product line or whatever it is. But a lot of times, even on that, they'll try to sell that new widget to the same customers that they're already selling it to, which doesn't fit with their pain point or whatever it is. So that's probably the most common, is that people lose sight of their ideal customer. They go after the shiny objects that are out here, which end up costing them. They lose margin with those because they're more costly, and they typically are the ones that are wanting the most out of them because it's away from what they really are good at.
Makes sense. If you could sit every business owner down and tell them one uncomfortable truth about sales leadership or sales operations, what would it be?
Well, first off, in an SMB, I would say, first of all, don't hire family members unless you're willing to fire family members. But I guess most importantly, if you don't have a process, hone in on your process and make it yours. You're just going to have yo-yo unpredictable sales. And too many companies, they'll hire a sales manager to come in because they need it fixed. 2 years go by, it's not fixed. After that sales manager just changed everything. Then they hire another sales manager, come in, change everything, and it just rinse and repeat, right? And sales never get better. And meanwhile, what does that do to your brand? You're changing your methodology and everything in the market, and customers notice that. Right. And that is your identity. What you project out into the marketplace is your identity, whether you like it or not. It's not just your website. Right.
Yeah. You say you don't just sell solutions, you diagnose problems. What's a time when a company thought they had a sales issue, but the real problem was something entirely different?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I think in the fractional space and in consulting space, it's real easy to see, you're looking at the 30,000 foot view when you first come in and you can see everything, right? Whereas people who are in it just a lot of times can't see the forest through the trees and can't see the problems as well as you can. I liken it to even a marriage, right? Like somebody from the outside can see something inside of someone else's marriage like easy, and people in it sometimes can't see it. The biggest thing I would say is companies that are flat or stagnant, a lot of times they think, oh, well, we're not getting enough sales, we're not getting this or that. And I'll go in and find that it's really a lead gen issue. It's a marketing issue, right? They don't understand who they're supposed to be going after. And so if you don't have enough coming in to even hit your target, if you closed at 100%, how are your salespeople ever going to get there? Right. So you need to provide those opportunities. So sometimes it's a marketing issue, really. And they need some fractional marketing help or because a lot of times they don't even have a marketing person, really.
Working as a fractional VP of sales, 1 to 2 days a week is unique. What surprises clients the most about how much impact you can create in such a short window?
Yeah, great question. A lot of times it's asking them, well, how much time do you spend with your sales team? Usually it's about 2 hours a week. Well, and they're not experts at it, right? They don't have any understanding of sales methodology or training or the psychology behind it. So when you're hiring an expert that's been in the industry for, 25, 30 plus years, they're able to easily identify and get things fixed quickly. One of the things we say with sales acceleration is, when you hire one of us, you hire all of us. We have over 230 professionals, all with at least 25 years of experience around the country. So when you really combine that together, some people have even over 35, 40 years in sales and sales management. For all, it's over 6,000 years of experience, that we can tap into and that we lean on each other for if we come across something we never have before. But I can guarantee you, out of all the people we have, someone's seen everything at this point now.
Yeah, that makes sense. With the sales acceleration system, what's the step or tool that consistently becomes the aha moment for clients, where it finally clicks why their sales were stuck?
I'd probably say it's a little bit twofold. One is, when you look at the stats of, I think it's 97% of companies don't have a sales playbook. So when you look at process, you get that playbook in place so that everybody's selling the same way. I mean, not robotic, but following the same process. That's all in the playbook. And then the real game changer now is being able to tie AI to the back of that. I like to call AI the kind of the big game changer for SMBs, because a lot of them can't afford to hire another, can't add headcount, right? And so that AI helps them kind of get on a level of a company that's a little bit bigger than them or a lot bigger than them, and level obviously all the repetitive tasks, being able to do it. But now that AI on the sales end can actually help their salespeople, help train them, help them overcome objections. It can help them do a lot of things that'll save time, and those reps can be on the phone or in front of customers more.
When you step into a struggling sales team, how do you determine if it's the process, the people, or the leader that needs to change first?
Well, in all of our engagements, we always start with our self-assessment. So it's 54 question self-assessment, and we have everyone in the sales organization fill that out, including any marketing, if they have marketing personnel. And that really helps us with the gaps analysis. And so it's coming from them, not from us, right? So I go in and it can really be identified. We talked about earlier with having that 30,000 foot view. This gives us kind of that ability to zone in on those different areas. And so we know where to focus first. But also when you think about the people issue, right? It's always more complicated because there's usually two sides. But if it's the leader or the owner that's the problem, a lot of times that manifests itself in fear. So when you have everybody in the same room, does everybody wait for the owner or the leader to speak first before they answer? And then everybody agrees? 100% consensus is typically a big red flag, right?
Yeah, owners often tie their identity to their business. What emotional or mindset barriers do you see holding leaders back from fixing their sales function?
A lot of times it's money's personal to them, right? So, I see micromanagement be the biggest bugaboo on the emotional mindset barrier for an owner. It's that fear that that person isn't working, right? I've seen it too many times. I've even had it in my own past where we had a CEO that was a big micromanager and would constantly run reports and hand them off to the manager and say, with his opinion, right? This person isn't working or whatever it is. Look at these data points, right? And immediately expecting that manager to go and reprimand that employee or put him on a watch list or whatever it is. And turns out a person that had been going through divorce or something and was going through some personal issues. So really it wasn't an issue of not wanting to work. It was an issue of being distracted, right? But from an owner's perspective, they feel like it's theft, right? Like you're not working and I'm paying you. And so that's kind of one of the biggest bugaboos. CRM is not a micromanagement tool. It's really a forecasting and a coaching tool if you're using it right. So it's all about trust. And that's one of the biggest things that owners, I think, have a problem with was trusting their people to do things.
Yeah, I've certainly seen that before. You help companies build sales engines that don't rely on hero reps or last-minute pushes. What's one thing any SMB could implement this week to create more predictable sales?
I'd say fix your KPIs in your comp plan, align them. So, salespeople are simple. They do activities that they're measured on and what makes them the most money. So if you align your company goals with KPIs that are driving behaviors that create the sales, it's going to generate the revenue for the reps. So that's what they're going to do. Too many times companies create KPIs that don't generate revenue. So those reps are focused on getting those KPIs done so they can be in the comp plan, right? But then it doesn't really drive it, like phone time, like, okay, well, I was at a company before where there was a rep there that he used to call a hospital general line and just stay in the loop to get his phone time. Some people work harder to get around the system than to actually do something that helps them. But at the same token, on the other hand, the good reps that were actually making sales were having difficulty getting 2 hours of phone time because they were actually driving the sales and putting in the research to make sure they were targeting the right customers and making sure they were prepared for their meetings.
Before being a fractional VP, you built and led sales organizations yourself. What's one mistake you made in your early leadership years that now shapes how you help others avoid those same pitfalls?
I'd say the biggest one is jumping in to save the day, right? Fixing a problem instead of teaching how to fix the problem. And it's hard to do because it's faster, it's easier. You can move on to your next task, but your job as a leader is to get them to grow and elevate themselves to either replace you or go on in their career. So mentoring them in that way to help them grow as a sales rep or a sales leader.
Yeah, I love that. All right, that's where we're going to leave it today. That was Joe Muskus sharing how SMBs can break out of stalled sales and build systems that drive sustainable, consistent growth. If you're an SMB leader looking for a proven framework and a hands-on sales partner, connect with Joe or explore his work with Rising Tide Sales Consulting. Thanks for tuning into the Goals.com podcast, where we explore what drives top sales performance. Be sure to subscribe and share this episode with a fellow sales leader who's ready to level up their game. Until next time, keep setting goals and keep crushing them. Joe, thanks again for being here.
This episode is brought to you by Goals.com, the sales performance platform built to help teams stay focused, motivated, and on track. While most CRMs just track data, Goals.com drives real results. It's simple, affordable, and designed to help your sales team hit targets faster, without the headache of complex setup or costly consultants. Whether you're using a CRM or not, Goals.com works seamlessly to elevate your performance. Book a fun, fast demo today at Goals.com.